I think creative writing is something everyone should learn how to do, and it varies from person to person. Their style of or their format or how they come up with ideas. But I think every filmmaker, or if you're involved in the filmmaking process at all, you got to be able to tell a good story, and you should be flexing these muscles because you might find out, hey, I like writing stories. We have a quote of the episode today, and it's rules direct us to average behaviors. If we're aiming to create works that are exceptional, most rules just don't apply. This is by Rick Rubin. All powerful stories come from life experiences or messages that your spirit aligns with closely. And this is something that, you know, I knew ever since I was a kid. For example, I loved the Marvel movies. Maybe they're not as good right now, but I resonated with the Marvel movies. I resonated with the Star Wars movies. I just loved cinematic universes, man. And everyone's got that genre that they love. I love the sci-fi war epic saga things that are like romance and despair and these grand esque themes of love and destruction and chaos and harmony. Lord of the Rings, man. I love those movies. They have such a grand feel to them. Um, that's where my spirit is, right? That's where, and that's different from everyone, right? That varies from person to person. You know, writing with no rules is something I wish I learned sooner. And what do I mean by writing without rules? Well, when I first started writing like stupid little creative stories, I was trying to fit the mold and nail like the format, the three act structure, the style, all that kind of stuff. How to prepare a document on Google Docs. But the truth is, if you focus on all that and put all your attention, put all your eggs in that basket, you're gonna lose the story. And especially when you're just starting out to write, the story matters more, man. You got to flex the creative muscles first. The format comes next. Don't worry. If you have a great idea, you have a great story, you think it's fun to write, just write it however the hell you want to write it. Write it in paragraphs like an essay. Doesn't matter. Write it on a page with no spaces. I don't care. Obviously make it legible, but stop worrying. Stop worrying about the oh my god, like what is the format? How do I write a script? How do I do this? Man, story trumps all. Ever since I was a kid, I loved writing little stupid stories. I'd honestly make like my summer breaks or my school semesters into these little stories, these chapters of my life. And I have notes on my phone app of tons and tons of stories. But man, I don't care because I love it. I don't care if no one will ever see it. I don't care if it'll never actually be produced as a movie. I love the chase of a story, and if you have that same thing, that same style, you love making little stories out of things. Even like, man, I'd like hang out with my friends one night. I make it into a little story and make it like a chapter in my life with a cool name, and then romanticize whatever happened. Like not romanticize with my friends, but like romanticize it in the way that you make it more grand and epic than it actually is. I literally made a story called Guardians of the Earth, and it was a movie. Kind of sounds similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And it was a movie with characters like Iron Man, Master Chief, Gandalf, all these crazy characters that would never actually meet on the screen. Why did I do this? Because of where my heart took me. I made this cool like invasion of New York City and all these heroes banding together. Kind of sounds like the Avengers movie when you think about it. But hey, I don't care. I have this whole document of me writing dialogue between the characters and how they would interact based on how the type of characters they are. It doesn't matter when you're starting out. Like you would say, like, oh, that would never happen. What are you writing? That's a ripoff. You're worrying about the wrong things. You gotta just flex that muscle, that creative muscle. I actually liked writing it. That was the most important part. You know, some people they don't even like writing anymore because they're focused too much on the format and all this stuff. I did it to escape the stress of the day, even. And when I was done with homework from my high school, I would just start writing. It would be a decompression. It would be like a form of therapy. I'd be able to decompress from it. You need to want to do it, I think. Um, and if it takes you writing these crazy stories for you to want to do it, then do it. Because you're still going to gain the skills. You're still going to flex the muscles, the creative muscles. You're going to build them, and they're going to apply to other things, man. I'm telling you. If the only way you're going to write dialogue is through putting Iron Man and like, I don't know, the Grinch in a room and them having them talk to each other because that interests you, then freaking do it, man. Who cares if it'll never happen? Who cares if no studio will pick it up? You're worrying too much about that stuff. Just write. You will gain experience with dialogue. If it's fun, you'll do it more. And if a habit's easier to do, you're going to do it more often. You're going to grow as a writer. It's this simple, guys. I took my first flight in spring of 2023. And it was a big chapter of my life. Never been on a flight. Went to Universal Orlando with a great buddy of mine, who's been a lifelong attendee of the park. Big theme park guy. I was never a theme park guy. But he showed me this park. I fell in love with it. Because I love stories, right? And I'm telling you, this will tie into the storytelling and the writing. So after that trip, I brought my camera, of course, because I wanted to, video the whole trip. But after that trip, I made it into this whole story. Made it into this crazy story with all these Universal characters from the park and this battle and this war. And like my friends were escaping from New York to go to Florida and all this stuff. Because, man, I have a blast writing that. That might sound ridiculous. That might sound like that's a waste of time. I love every second of it, and I've gained so much storytelling, content, even and writing that I can apply to other stuff that comes in my even professional career. Because I'm writing about character arcs, I'm writing about events that happen. I love it so much to the point where I'm going to write more and I'm going to explore the characters more. It sounds like crazy. And then we went to Universal. We returned back there a year later. I made another film on that, the sequel. But it's because I loved it that I kept doing it. So make those stupid stories with your friends. Go on this spring break trip and make a stupid story out of it. If you love storytelling, man, write this crazy story about how your friends got trapped on an island or something. I don't know. Whatever comes to your heart, right where the heart takes you. I took a screenwriting class my freshman year of college. And actually, I'm going to pull up a script. Let's see if I can find a script from... That'd be crazy. I took one at Hofstra University. My freshman year, I was a filmmaking major, believe it or not. I switched to marketing. Screenplay. Okay, here we go. So we basically learned how to write screenplays. And that's a great resource. That's a great thing to learn. But I'll show you guys the script on the screen here. I wrote this script about Bigfoot, and my professor, he focused so much on the formatting and the script process, and it was very clinical, man. It kind of disinterested me how clinical it was and how like conventional it made like this creative thing seem. But it's necessary. I'm not saying it's not necessary, but it's very clinical. But oftentimes the professor would critique my stuff not because of the story, but because of the formatting was all out of whack. Most students even their problems was the formatting, not the story. They had that heart. They were writing where the heart was taking them, but the story wasn't in the right format. Like that always baffled me, because then I would start worrying about the format when I'm writing. Take me away from the actual story. And hey, this was 4 years ago. Maybe I could have made a better story if I wasn't so focused. Just throwing it out there. Don't focus too much on that stuff. I'd over-obsess about the formatting in every single work. But then I said, what actually matters? And I passed the class, obviously, but at the end I was like, what actually matters? What matters is my own process that allows me to generate my best ideas. And you want that momentum, man, especially when you're starting out. So what is your process? You got to find that. If your process is writing on a Google Doc these random stories and pictures that go along with them, do that. If that's what's going to make your idea, that's what's going to make your story, throw it all on the table, You got to find what works for you. Once I applied my authentic process that works for me, I think my best works were made to this day. I have 2 films that are still being worked on. Finished shooting one of them, just picture locked one of them. I think it's some of my best work that's authentic to me, and that's what matters, right? Because I wrote where the heart took me. I came up with this idea, and we're actually going to explore this this film that I'm probably going to blur some stuff, but made this film. I'm going to show you guys the document, and I want to show you guys what went into this, from the first the first rendition of it to now finalized. And you know, the document, whatever document you write on, it's got to be a living, breathing entity. Especially even if let's say, a short film, you're still working on the film. It's got to be changing by the minute, man. It's sort of like a sandbox. It's a thing that has layers, right? Sort of like a mega document, as I like to call it. You probably shouldn't use Google Docs. I think there's like better resources out there, but that's what I did to start, and it's free. And so you should probably do the same thing. As you can see, from the top of the document, I like this to be shot in a few anamorphics. Might need ultra wide lens. I'm just writing notes, man. This is the first page. Grade/look. I think this is probably the first everything I wrote. I think I wrote this above this. This was like the first everything I wrote. I wanted to write what the look is. That's what mattered to me most. And especially, it's almost like what you actually, your purpose of making the film is usually the thing that you write the first thing that you write on a document. And it's the feel. And I love cinematography. I want a nostalgic homemade feel. So that was like, I had to write that down first. Then when I wrote the gear, this was a little bit later, but that's the first page. And then here we go with the actual, like, what process works for me. General outline. I make a general outline before the shot list. And see, I crossed some stuff out because some stuff got removed. It's a living, breathing document. But here we go. It's almost like a hybrid of a script, because I do the cut to, the flashback, but then I just write stuff down. Writing stuff down, right? All this stuff. Then I go into shot ideas. I implanted it within the story. I just started bulleting shot ideas, because I'm just flowing, man. I'm just writing stuff down. I'm exploring what this film can be. I think that's most important. Writing down locations I can possibly do it, and then we're cutting back to the story. And that is the general outline. And that general outline can look like anything. It doesn't have to look like mine. It could have pictures. But then we go into the shot list. And these are just stills I found from online. This is Shot Deck, very popular. Again, just vibe pieces. Writing stuff down, shots I want to do. Some of this text, I'm just writing stuff that I want to know, that I want to accomplish with the story. Here we go. We got an eBay link even, just in there. I think this is probably a lens. But dude, and then I have Google Map locations of where I wanted to shoot. Like, this document's 36 pages, and it's just a random hodgepodge of stuff that contributes to the story. Then I even made a schedule for one of the shoots for the sequences, down to a science. Look at this. I'm ADHD on this stuff. Look, got timestamps for everything, what we want to do. And I got the Montauk schedule. Then I even went back. So once I did the shot, that was like the rough shot list at the top with all those like frames. Then I went into the shot, like hard shots I wanted to do. And this was the blueprint, so to speak, for me actually handwriting my shot list. And I wish I had it with me, but I'll put a picture of it. I actually hand wrote all of my shots in my shot list. And once this film's out, I'm going to make an episode specifically just focused on what changed from the shot list to the actual film, because I think that's another interesting topic. But I made text of just every shot I wanted to do, and then I wrote it down, because that's what I wanted. That was my process. My process is I need to write it down. I need to hand draw it in a real piece of paper, how I want it to be. Not using stills from online. I want to actually write it down what I want it to look like. And I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good drawer. But that's what works for me. And what's going to get the job done? The document that you made that works for you and your style. Man, like, this document is all over the place, but you know what? That's what works for me, and that's what I'm trying to hammer down with you guys. You have to create and then organize. Create, then organize. Stop worrying about the format of stuff. Stop worrying about whether I'm doing this in the industry standard way. Just exercise your creative muscles, man. Write the story, write where the heart takes you. I want you guys all to start your next project by just dumping ideas, feelings, beats, images, music into a doc, notebook, or even a voice memo. Just talk. Get the idea generation. Stop being so afraid to create because you think you're doing it wrong. That's not what this is about, guys. This has been lesson 2. Write where the heart takes you. Don't worry about story treatment so much. Just write. Start creating, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.